Hello, everyone, and welcome back to one more episode of Address, the real time dispute resolution process. I'm Dr. Reddy, and you may not remember me or recognize me immediately because I have my head tonsured. It's a religious thing. So, we have with us a panelist today who is Mr. Arvind Kumar. And for a very quick, brief introduction, Mr. Arvind Kumar brings us more than 45 years' experience in power and infrastructure sectors. I felt I cannot do justice to his profile, so I was requesting Mr. Arvind Kumar to kindly introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Reddy. I'm a civil engineer and I have spent more than 45 years in construction of power project infrastructure areas in thermal, gas, hydro, non-renewables. I was an NTPC for about 40 years and I was I was regional executive director and I was managing many power stations and construction of new power stations. I was also CEO of Aravali Power Company, which has set up a 1500 megawatt Jhajjar power plant near Delhi. After superannuation from NTPC, I joined WAPCOS and I was posted in Bhutan as a team leader, chief project director of WAPCOS team, looking after two very large hydropower stations of 1200 megawatt and 10 to 80 megawatt each. All these, huge mega projects, they have a very large amount of civil, electrical, mechanical works. So I was lucky to be there. Thank you.
That's a rich experience. In fact, when I went through a profile, I was sometimes wondering if this was all done by just one person or it was two people's resume. So it was
Thank you.
wonderful,
Thank
and
you for that.
congratulations on a very rich experience.
Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you. So now let's get to our topic. In fact, your topic titled "How to Complete Arbitration or the Process Very Quickly," and you had certain interesting ideas to share with us. So why don't we just directly step onto that and say that what is the first thing that comes to your mind at a, let's say, policy level, that you may want to talk on how to quicken the process of arbitration? How do we quickly get the awards?
Dr. Reddy, it is imperative that whichever party claims the damages from the other party, he should get finally the amount in his hand, in his bank account. That is a really culmination of the process of arbitration, and that should be fast enough. There are two parts of that. One is part is the conduct of the arbitration itself. The award is issued fast. Second is enforcement of the award. In this topic today, I'm going to cover the first part. That is how to ensure that arbitration awards are issued quickly. And in that sense, I'll be basically the trigger for me for these things is that the 80 arbitration tribunal, I refer to that as 80, and councils should have incentives to do it very, very fast so that there shouldn't be any delay on that. And the 80 should be able to give the dates for the various hearings in a very fast manner, in required day-to-day hearings, to ensure that the confidence of the litigants is there in the arbitration system. Third is that there should be more and more recourse to fast-track arbitration process. I'll come to that later. And fourth is that, the procedural parts for accelerating the awards. And the last one is the modern means, electronic means for ensuring the awards are issued early. You talked about for the policy level. I'll talk about a couple of issues over there. One is that I think the foremost issue is that we should, through law or through the guidance, we should have some kind of limit on the number of concurrent arbitrations that a tribunal member has with him. People should sit down and they talk about what is the maximum number of arbitrations one can do concurrently. That is where the awards are not issued. So there will be incentive for the concerned tribunal to issue the award as early as possible so that he can get into the next tribunal.
May I just interject here for a minute and share a few of my thoughts? The first thing I would say is that's a very good idea, but we also have the other side of the story where we cannot put in a limit on the number of cases. I'll argue on both sides. One part is many people are nowadays taking this online dispute resolution cases, ODR cases, where we will be given a batch of cases. Sometimes you'll be given a 1,000 cases in one go. So once we say you have to have a number on the number of cases a person takes, you may have to split up in terms of the ODR cases and the standard cases. Let me put it that way. Second point I raise here is the complexity of the issue. If we say the number of sessions has to be limited, there's incentive for the uh, arbitrator or the counsel to go to the next case. I'll say that uh, depends on the complexity. For example, I may have a complex case of, let's say, 10,000 crores, where there's only one issue. Then I don't need that many hearings, maybe two hearings, three hearings, 2 or 3 days, we can finish the entire case. Now imagine the complete opposite. Instead of 10,000 crores, we are talking only about 10 lakh rupees. And there are 100 issues, each issue being 1,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, depending on the issue. How much time do we need there? Now that is a fine balance, and you rightly said there is no specific answer. Let the higher ups at the policy level think about it and come back to it. But I will share one example very quickly, which my senior has shared with me. That it was a military trial. It was not arbitration, but an actual trial, capital punishment, where the soldier or the army officer would be subjected to death penalty. And the doors were locked. Nobody could leave the camp until the case was closed, which was about 4 days or 5 days. So that is how fast the military court has spent,
Yes.
provided sufficient opportunity, at the same time balancing the time required for completing the case. So back to
I get your point, and I'm not giving any sure short answer at the moment. All I'm saying is that let the concerned authorities give a thought to the process, what it is, and then come out with a some kind of a limitation on that,
yes,
so that they are available for giving dates and they have incentives to really close a case and go on to the next one.
sure.
The second point I have is that the fees to the tribunal as well as to the councils, or they're integral part of the whole show, should be based on the lump sum fee as already there in the act, as has been given by the guidelines of DIAC as well as the guidelines of IIAC. But it is found that in government departments and in PSUs, they still go on per hearing basis. So I think it is important that government should immediately issue guidelines that wherever contracts are there, where per sitting basis is there, with the consent of the contractor, they should try to modify that to go on to the scale whichever government feels appropriate, either DIAC or IIAC or the fourth schedule, whatever it is, so that there's no incentive either on the part of councils or for the AT to unnecessarily extend the hearings.
Once again, I'll share. I'm trying to make it as polite as possible, but not to just counter you, but to take it the both ways. First, I agree with you, saying that there was one arbitrator whom I will not name, who had spent 99 sessions in an arbitration case. One case, 99 sessions. And he was sad that he could not complete the 100th session. It's not a game about number of sessions, it's about delivering justice to the parties.
Very
So
right.
that is one extreme end of things. But on the other side, let's assume that you are one arbitrator and I'm another arbitrator. Would you be willing to take the same amount of fees as me? That is a big level question, because you come with 45 years experience and I could be just a 45-year-old kid, or for that matter I could be just a 25-year-old kid. And how can we compare ourselves and take the same amount of fee? This is a big level question. We can debate on this itself for days together. There's no simple answer. But as you rightly said, yes, there has to be a number of the
Yes.
sessions. At least keep a cap on the number of sessions.
Something, one of, you see, the point is that the second point you raise, actually that's not really relevant. I tell you why. Because the fourth schedule has already addressed that there is a lump sum fees. Delhi International Arbitration Center gives a lump sum fee, nothing to do with the number of year experience. Indian International Center also has a lump sum fee. ICC also has a lump sum fee. So I think there is no issue on that.
Sure.
But the third point I want to raise is that our Act, ANC Act, it talks about giving 25% incentives for in case the tribunal concludes within 6 months of pleadings. Now, but the act permits up within 12 months of pleadings, right? For time period to be taken. Now, I don't know how many cases tribunals are able to get that incentive. I think, if at all, it will be hardly, it will be rare. So, in my suggestion would be that whatever the act permits, that is 12 months within all the pleadings, there should be a sizable incentive for the tribunals to complete the tribunal proceedings. So that my point is not based on just incentive. My all suggestions are based on incentives, so that people are incentivized, tribunal as well counsels, to conclude the case. The last point that I have at the policy level is the training of arbitrator. So I think there should be some kind of a number of hours of training that should be required. I'm sure the concerned experts can think of something on that. I think many other professions have such kind of requirement, so that they are able to, they're aware of the current changes in the system. They're aware of the new guidelines. They're aware of the online way of working. They're aware of the new real-time environment softwares that are coming into picture. So I think there should be some kind of training for that. And in that spirit, I could also say that maybe somebody, some authority could come out with a concise video, which could be played in the first hearing of every tribunal. It talks about what changes have taken place in the past few years, what is the current status, and how we can expedite the arbitration. And that should mandatorily played whenever the first meeting of any tribunal.
That's a very good thought. I mean, having a standard video play at every hearing,
Yeah.
that's a
So I
wonderful.
think this is about 3 or 4 policy level interventions that I have.
Addition to policy level, what else do you have that can help
I
us?
would talk about a couple of them for the arbitral constitution of tribunal. Now, uh, I think the default case up to a particular threshold level should be appointment of a single sole arbitrator, because more arbitrator means more difficult to get times for those arbitrators. If you want to have day-to-day hearings to conclude the matter, you cannot do that. Now, if you go to the ICC, International Chamber of Commerce, they said that the up to 10 million, that is 85 crores of rupees of claims, the norm is single arbitrator. Beyond 30 million, that is beyond 250 crore, norm is 3 arbitrators. And between 80 and 250 is preferable to have single again. But in all these cases, the deviation can be done by the institute concerned. So I couldn't find such a guideline in Indian guidelines of either DIAC or IIAC or the Act. So, but I think there should be more of reliance on single arbitrator up to a particular threshold level, whatever is considered necessary or appropriate for the Indian conditions.
Such
The
a
second
policy.
bit, hmm?
In fact, I had seen such a policy in one institute in India. I'll talk about that afterwards because we don't want to promote any single institute.
Okay,
But
the
such an institute
International
does it.
Chambers of Commerce has
Yes.
that guidance. They recognize that it's better to have single arbitrator for expeditious hearing. You see, the aim of arbitration is that people should have confidence in the whole process. And I think if that thing is not there, one day people lose hope and something else will have to come up. Just like people have lost hope in the courts at times. That's why arbitration came up. But arbitration gets elongated, you take 2 years to get an award. It's not really helping anymore. Second point is that we should have more reliant on the fast track arbitration. You see, the Act talks about it. That is where oral hearings are not normally held. It's only on the written pleadings that the decisions are taken. But I found it very interesting. If you see the ICC, Article 30, if you see Article 30, it talks of threshold level. It says there is a 3 million limit. It says up to 3 million limit, normally it should be better to go for fast track arbitration. That is up to 25 crores rupees of, if there's a case having a 25 crores, it's better to go for fast track pleadings. And I was very happy to see that Indian International Arbitration Center has come out with their guidelines. They have put this figure in the Article 16 as 5 crores. So at least a beginning has been made now, that up to 5 crores. So I would suggest that in the arbitration agreement itself, it should be so worded that up to whatever limits they agreed to, say 5 crores up to IAC or whatever figure the parties agree to, there should be a fast track arbitration. And beyond that, only should they go for a normal arbitration. So these are a couple of suggestions I have got for the fast track arbitration to be followed by everyone. The next thing is I would talk about during the process of arbitration, procedural part during arbitration. I have many sessions on that based on what I have seen in my career. And the first is that parties and the tribunal should endeavor to avoid oral hearings to the extent possible. Right now, couple this with my first two suggestions that the number of cases that tribunal can take are limited, and the amount that is paid to the counsels and the tribunal is lump sum. This will automatically come in because everybody would be keen to avoid
Hmm.
unnecessary hearings and so as to conclude the matter as early as possible. Second thing is when there are admission and denial of documents, there shouldn't be any barred knives. As
Hmm.
per a pre-printed format, everybody should very clearly say what it is not. Third point is that the minutes of the hearing should be finalized and frozen and issued at the end of the meeting itself. If we should not take a few days or few weeks to issue the minutes because that will again delay the process. Second thing is that the minutes, to the extent possible, and I've seen, I think in largely all the cases it's possible, they should be shown to the members, both the sides, minutes, and then issued there and there so that there's no mistake and they all own it up. Whatever dates are agreed, what the procedures are agreed, if there are mistakes that are incorrect. Of course, the last word is that of the tribunal, but they can be shown to the tribunal, to the members, and then you finalize that. Now, next, I have got a couple more suggestions that when you ask for a document from the party, you should ask for a joint document. I found it immensely helpful myself that if there's a case of payments to be made, one party says this is what payment is due, then second party takes many hearings to say no, this is wrong, then they both fight and they come to a conclusion this is right figure. It takes many days and many hearings.
Hmm.
All those things are concluded and killed in one go if they give a joint statement. So they do the behind the work, both of them, the party and both the parties, the claimant and the respondent. They do behind the scene work and they come out with a joint statement on the payments to be made, or there are many issues on which it can be done. And the point is that we should promote some interim award in the meantime, in the sense that there may be 20 claims that the party has raised, maybe, but you find that there's one claim that can be immediately given on which there is no issue at all. So instead of waiting for the all proceedings to be completed, we should try to issue an interim award right in the middle of the proceeding itself. Now, I think one other thing is which normally happens is in project cases is that the parties, to the extent possible, they should agree for not examining the witnesses on based on because the moment it goes to witness, it takes a lot of delays there, and in
Yes.
many cases, it's not really required based on the written documents, especially where the government is there. I find that all the papers of the government are there in the public domain, not public domain in the front of the tribunal. So because government has a particular paperwork to be done, and if you want that, everything is produced, including internal notes, their correspondences. So I think maybe witnesses are not required. I guess in most of the cases that should be avoided. I have a couple of more suggestions. One suggestion is that every minute that you issue for every hearing, there should be one para that should be points agreed to between the two parties. What are points where there is no dispute? For example, this is a start date, this is the end date, this is the amount paid, this is the claim, uh, this amount yet to be paid, this amount held up by us. You ask the parties to come out with a joint statement. Thereafter, include that in the minutes itself. So under the heading points agreed between two parties, and that paragraph would remain in every hearing, and will keep on getting expanded as the agreed points come in. I found it extremely helpful because it gives a lot of transparency, and everybody knows what it is, and there's a lot of clarity between the two parties. So I think that's something under a point that I have in mind. Uh, then I got very small more suggestions that use of video conference. and hybrid. If somebody's on tour, he should not seek adjournment. He should participate from wherever he is, so that it can be hybrid meeting. Some people doing in-person submitting doing that. And linked to that, another point is that there should be cost of adjournment. I find that I find that DIC rule number, para number 21 imposes a cost of rupees 3,000, very nominal cost on the party who seeks adjournment. So I think that is fair enough. It is nominal and should remain nominal. Of course, it is anybody's guess whether it should be 5,000 or 10,000, but so that he gets a feel that I'm being penalized for seeking adjournment, even though it is just a very nominal sum. Our last point is that online software should be encouraged real-time basis, so that they are there in the cloud-based domain. You can put all the claims, your defenses, the respondent can put all their thought process, all letters. It's very easy for everybody to access that at all the times, 24 hours, without keeping track of physical documents. So I think these are some of the suggestions that came to my mind. I'll share with you. And if you have any suggestions or any comments on that, I welcome that.
Sounds great. Some of the points you're talking. I'd like to say two or three things. One, some of the suggestions you said are, in fact, very well thought out, and they are not so strange to India. In fact, the chartered accountants, they have a limit on how many company-related files they can sign. That is, I think 60 is the number, 60. So if there is a cap on the statutory auditors, financial auditors, it is not necessarily affecting their livelihood. It is a balance about them doing a justice to their duty.
Right.
It's not about right to life. It's about your duty to the public. Something similar can be thought of here.
Yes,
But again,
yes.
some of the thoughts that you have shared are already happening in international level. But to Indian scenario, maybe some of the things are too early. It's like the electric car, which has waited for more than 100 years for the the electric technology to improve, so that the electric car can become cheaper. So that maybe it takes time. We are not there yet, but probably soon. Of course, India is known to catch on to something and grow in leaps and bounds. We surpassed all developed countries in embracing technology. So that way there is a lot of potential for us. So let's see how many of you are, I want to call them predictions. So how many of them will happen in the next 5 years? And I'd be very happy if at least 90% of what you said, in fact I would even say 50% of what you said happen in the next 5 years, I'd be very, very happy. So these are very wonderful suggestions, Mr. Arvind, and I once again thank you for your time, sharing valuable knowledge, even not just for beginners, but even for seasoned arbitrators. This was a very wonderful lecture. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Reddy, for this conversation. I really enjoyed it a lot.
sure. With that, I thank you and take your leave.
Okay, bye-bye. Namaskar.